Hey guys, my name is Arturo Connell, and today we're going to be going over how to transfer your WordPress site to AWS. So things that we're not going to be covering today are creating an AWS account. I'm already assuming you have one of those, backing up your previous WordPress or database, and pointing all DNS to a new website. Things that we're actually going to get covered are creating an EC2 instance to host your website and database and create an elastic IP to be associated with your EC2 instance. We're going to be transferring your data into the EC2 instance via FTP, and we're going to be configuring the database. We're also going to be taking care of enabling SSL and configuring Route 53 to point to your instance. So at the end, we're going to end up with an architecture pretty similar to this, where we're going to be using our default VPC, and we're going to be using Amazon Route 53 to point to your EC2 instance. We're going to be having an NGINX web server with PHP, MySQL, and WordPress. So let's get this done. So the first thing we need to do now is get into the AWS console. Okay. Need to log in. Let me type all this in. Okay, so we can move now to the EC2 instance section. And then we need to launch a new instance. So there are many ways to do this. One of the easiest way will be like grabbing one of the AMI from the marketplace. The one we're going to be using is by Bitnami. It's called WordPress. So basically these two are pretty much the same. We're going to be going through this one, which already have like NGINX and SSL. So we're going to select this one. Here's going through the different prices for the different instance sizes. If you're on the free tier, you can go with T2 Micro. Myself, I'm going to be going with a T2 Medium here. Next, we want to configure our instance. We're going to leave all this as default. Default VPC with the default subnets. Nothing to be changed here. Next will be storage, and this will depend on how big your website is, the one you're transferring or migrating. For myself, 25 gigs should be enough. I want to be deleted on termination and no encryption required for me at this point. So tags, yes, I'm going to be adding name, website, security groups. I'm going to be creating a new one. Let's call it website. Same for description. And as you can see here, we're opening 3 ports, 22, 80, and 4043, SSH, HTTP, and HTTPS over TCP. And pretty much we have it all open, either for IPv4 and IPv6. So I'm gonna leave it open for now, but instead of like doing that, no, I'm gonna change it to my IP instead, so only my computer can access it. This is all good here, so we're good to go. Launch. So here, if you don't have like a private key, you need to create one. The way you do that is that you just create a new key pair, and then you choose a encryption algorithm. I already have one, so I'm gonna go with choose my existing one, and then I acknowledge. Okay. There you go. So we can go view your instance here. So the instance is running. I don't think it's ready yet, but we can try it. But before we do that, as you can see here, we have like, let's go back to the instance. We have a public IP before, which is a dynamic IP, meaning that every time once you stop the instance and you bring it back on again, that IP is gonna change. So if you have like Route 53 pointing to it, or any other DNS pointing to it, it won't be able to route if this IP change. So I would recommend creating an elastic IP. Amazon won't charge you anything for it as long as you're using it. So let's do that. So elastic IP. I wanna allocate an elastic IP. US East one is good for us. Tags, yeah. That's great. Website, Amazon pool is good. We want to allocate that. So we have this IP now, and what we have to do is we have to go to actions, and then we need to associate that IP with the instance we just created. So we want to associate with a resource type instance, and we come here. It's smart enough to detect that we only have one instance. So we want that. We don't want a private IP address. We want to allow this elastic IP address to be reassociated in case we stop that instance and we need to use that IP to some other instance. So we're going to associate. So ending on 135. So if we go to instances now, we still have the dynamic one, but if we refresh, you can see now that the new EIP got assigned. So next, let's check on the website. We still have to enable SSL. This is why it's giving us this message here. It's detecting the site as not being secure, so let's accept it. And as you can see, our WordPress site is up and running. Good. So now we need to log into our WordPress. So in order to do this, we need to be grabbing our password. So we can get that actually right here. We need to go to the instance, we go to actions, we go to monitor and troubleshoot. We hit get system logs. We scroll up, and this is what we need right here. You need to copy this and save it because you're going to be using this password to connect to the admin side of WordPress, and the same will be the case for your database. So make sure you copy that and you save it. So let's go here. Default user is user, password, the one we just grabbed. No. And as you can see, we have our website here. So now let's get connected to our instance via SSH. For that, we'll go to the terminal. We do SSH-E because we need to pass the key. In my case, it's on the same folder I'm standing here. So this, and then we do bitnami, which is the user, add. We need to grab the IP. Here. Yes, we want to add that. As you can see, we're already on the instance. I know that we just checked that the website was up and running, but you can also check that via the command line and make sure everything is, all of the services are up and running. So we go to up, bitnami, ctl, and then we do status. you can see here that everything is running. And if we go to, let's see, CD's tag should be WordPress exactly. Do this and SLA. So these are all the files we need to be replacing here. As you can see here, the way that Bitnami is handling the WP content and the WP config file is like they're creating symbolic links and they're not storing this anymore on this location. They're putting them on a different location here in Bitnami WordPress. So we're gonna be removing all of these files, and then we need to come back and create those system links and make sure we point to this place with the new content. So let's do that. So then let's get those files copied to our EC2 instance, and the way we're going to be doing that it is through FTP. And for that we're going to be using FileZilla. If you don't have it, it's like very easy to download. Let's go down. Just grab the first one and just click download depending on your operating system. That should be it. For example here, and I will just be downloading. In this case I already have it, so we just need to create a new connection. So let's create a new site. Let's call it WordPress. So this is going to be through SFTP via SSH. For host, we need to grab the IP. For machine, logon type, we're going to be doing it through a key file. User, again, Bitnami, key file where you have it stored. Okay, perfect. So this should be good. Let's click connect. There you go. So we go stack, WordPress, and here's the content. We're going to be replacing all this with our content from our previous website. The one I'm assuming you already like back up and copy it. So I have it right here. So like I was telling you, Bitnami, for some reason they changed the way they manage WP content and WP config. Now they're pointing to different folders from within WordPress. So we're going to be removing all of this, and then we're going to be creating symbolic links again to point to the correct folders. I already have my 2 files here that I want to upload. That's a content from my previous website. And then actually let's first remove all of this. Yeah, so we got nothing here now. So you can see it's empty. So if we come here, we refresh. We're good. So let's copy the files. I'm gonna pause it here, and then I'll come back once we get these files into the server. Okay, so now that we have our files uploaded to the EC2 instance, we should start decompressing those files. So let me first move them out of there. permissions to do that. And then let me do the same for W. Perfect. So now we have our files here. So inside of WordPress, we got nothing. So next thing we need to do here is to decompress the file. So we're doing tar dash extract zip. We want a verboso to see what's happening in file. What's the name of the file? W. And then we want to output that to directory WordPress. So my site is like 2 gigs, so it should take like a few seconds to a minute. So let me pause it. I'll come back. A few seconds later, we're good. So we now have our configuration there. So let's now remove the configuration from WP content, and we should be able to decompress the other file there. So let's remove those files. So it should be WordPress, yeah, WP content and WP config. We want to get rid of those. So again, sudo WordPress WP content. We want to get rid of everything inside of that folder. Of course, remove recursive because we want to take care of all of the folders inside of that one. And gone. Let's do the same for WP config. And we're good now. Do another there. We only get this. We got WP. We're empty. So yep. So now let's decompress the other files inside of that folder. So again, for that we do tar. Let's do sudo, otherwise it won't work. Sudo tar extract zip repose file, and then we need to pass the file. It was content WP content. WP content, and we want to put that into Vietnamese WordPress WP content. Okay, let's see how fast this goes. So let me stop it here and I'll come back once it's done. So now we're done. So next thing we need to do is we need to create back those symbolic links so we can connect to those files via the WordPress folder. So the way we do that, let's see, WordPress, and then we do ln-s where we want to be pointing, which is Vietnamese WordPress, and then WP content, and then how we want to call it here locally. So we want to call it WP content. Okay, so now if we do an ls-array, we see that we're pointing to that directory. I'm gonna come back later with the WP config because I haven't uploaded that yet because we need to change the database configuration first before doing that. So that's what we're gonna be doing next. We're gonna be connecting to the database and we're gonna be uploading our database backup from our previous website. Okay, so now we need to connect to our database, and the way we do that is via localhost. So in order for us to be able to do it localhost, we need to first create a tunnel with the instance, and we're going to be doing that doing SSH, we do -n, -l, the port we're going to be mapping via localhost on port 80. We're gonna be passing, actually, let me do this in a different tab because here I'm connected to the instance. We don't want to do that from the instance, we want to do that locally. So create a new tab, and let's do that again. SSH -n -l port, your local address, port, and then you need to pass the key, which in this case I'm on a different directory, so this time will be download those AWS key, perfect, and then we put the instance information. Now we add, we're using IP3, gosh, 3.230.243.135. So that should be good. So now if we go to 127.0.0.0.1 slash php. So that should be good actually, bro. There you go. So here the default user is root, and then password we need to grab it from where you stored it before. This is the one we got out of system log. So if you don't remember where you have it now, just come back to the instance, you go to actions, you go to monitor and troubleshoot, get system logs, and you come back up again and you just copy from here. Actually, let me just grab it from here. We come here, we paste it, we give it a go. No. So what we need to do here now is that you need to create a database, and probably this needs to be called the same way you had it on your previous site. So on my case, it was Kirko 5 underscore birds. Create these, and then we just come here to import, choose file, select the database, upload, we give it a go. So it was successfully imported, so we should be good to go now. Now we just need to upload the config file, the WP config file with the address of the name of the database and the password for the database. So let's do that now. So like I said before, I already have like mine downloaded. So let's just modify it and then upload it. Okay, so database name is correct. We just need to change the password. So we can grab that again out of here. Localhost, everything else seems correct. So we just need to upload that file again. So let's go back to our FileZilla. Let's refresh here. So that file is actually sitting on, let's WordPress. Go to WP content, which is on Vietnamese WordPress, and this is where we want to go. We want to put it here. Let's see if we actually got permissions to move it there. So permissions denied, so let's do it the other way around. Let's then put it here and then we move it. Okay, so back to the terminal now. Not you. Here. So let's grab WP dash. So here we have it. So let's sudo move WP dash config that PHP, and we want to put that on WordPress. Okay, perfect. So now we want to create another system link to point to that, symbolic link to point to that file. So again, I do ln-s Vietnamese WordPress WP pick PHP, and we want to call it the same WP dash config PHP, and we should be good. Perfect. So now we have a point in there. So now let's go back to our site and make sure it's actually connecting to the database. So we got a bunch of errors here. Let's troubleshoot that. Let's go to WP admin. So it seems that we're having some kind of error with like this plugin. So let's go ahead and disable that plugin and see if that works. So we go to content, we go to plugins, it's Gmail, this one. So let's come here, rename. So I got permissions denied, so let's do that via the console. Let me see. It's always nice a little bit of troubleshooting on the go. So bitnami WordPress WP content. When it goes to plugins, and then this. So let's move sudo move base layer to and let's see if that works now. Yep, so that did the trick. So now we want to log in. Here I have to use the old credentials I have for my previous website. Remember that this is connecting now to my database, the one I just uploaded. So let me grab those credentials. So yeah, this is correct. So nothing to be changed here. So this we're getting here are like errors regarding the plugins that needs to be installed. So we go to plugins. Probably we need to activate all of these plugins that I had before. So let's try updating those first. So it looks like we don't have permissions to create a folder, update a folder, so let's fix that. So let's check something here. Yeah, so we need to change this because we uploaded all of these via FTP, meaning using the bitnami user. So when it created those files, it assigned the user and group to bitnami. This needs to be changed to bitnami user and group daemon. So let's do that now. So we need to change ownership. So use sudo change owner -r, and then we want to do bitnami column daemon. You can probably do, let's put the whole folder just in case. T WordPress, and then everything in here. Perfect. We want to do the same for the content folder, the WP content. So let's change here to Nami WordPress. Let's do it here. So let's check now. You see that some of those already changed. So let's do the rest. Fine. Put sudo in front. T Nami WordPress. What do you type? I'm going to start with the directories. Exec. Let's change mode. 5. go, and we want to do the same for the files. Instead of 775, we want to probably do 664. There you go. So let's do again. Minus LA. You can see now the permissions have changed. So let's check really quick on the WP content folder and see what permissions we have there. So here we should be good. So let's give it another try then to the website. Fail. Let's try something else then. Let's restart the services really quick here. Sudo should be good. Up and running again. Let's refresh. So we still don't have permission, so let's go check that again. So let's do something here. Let's do these. Should we want 664 here? Let's check again. So our permission has changed, so let's double check it out. Yep. Now we're able to write into the plugin folder. We should be able to update all of our plugins now. So as you can see here now, out of the box with Bitnami and NGINX and SSL, we already have like secure certificates installed. Those got auto renew every month out of the box, so there's nothing for you to worry about there. So next thing we got to do is like we need to set up like Route 53 to point to your IP. So you have your DNS name pointing to this EC2 instance. Let's do that. Okay, so for that we need to go down to Route 53. Let's look for Route 53. I already have like my hosted song created, so for me I will just need to come to my domain name, grab this one. Let me actually go back here to grab the IP. Let's grab that IP. Let's go back to row 53, edit the record, and I just point to this IP instead. So that should be about it. So if I come back to here, and instead of this, I just put, like, for example, you see, that made it. So let's go back to the case that you don't have a hosted song. So let's create a new hosted song. So we go back to hosted songs. We choose create a hosted song. We give it a name. Let's say my site example.com. We want to make it public, otherwise it won't be able to route from external. My name is not valid. Okay. Okay, perfect. So now we create a hosted song. So if you're using another DNS server, you need to grab these DNS names. So paste it in your DNS server, so that way you can route your DNS name, your domain name, to AWS. So once you do that, then you come here and you create a record, and then you want to do like IPv4 address, and then under value will be the IP address of your instance. Let's say 1.1.1.1 for the fun of it. You create a record, so every time anybody goes to mysite.k.com, it's gonna be pointing at 1.1.1.1. So if your domain name is registered with somebody else, you just need to grab this name server and add it to your configuration there. So that's about it. So let's check one last thing, and is that we can actually update our WordPress. Let's do that. Okay, so let's go to update. Let's hit like update now. Come on, load. So it seems that we're able to update, so we're good to go here now. So thank you for sticking to the end. So make sure you subscribe and leave a like and keep learning.